My name is Amy Lykover. I'm the president of the Federation of San Rafael Neighborhoods, the chair, the president, and we have with us tonight some of our board members and several guests from other neighborhoods. So I live in Gerstle Park, and I've been doing this now for maybe more than 5 years, maybe 8 years. I'd like to introduce Richard Bernstein. Do you want to mention where you live?
I live in California Park, a neighborhood in San Rafael that nobody knows where it is, but we recently, within the last couple of years, put in a beautiful mural on a retaining wall, and so people are saying, "Oh, that's where the mural is." So we're getting a little bit of recognition. Anyway, glad to be here and looking forward to tonight's presentation.
So Richard is our vice president, and where he lives, it's adjacent to the California Tunnel, right? What is it called? Park Tunnel?
Well, there's that Cal Park Hill
Cal Park.
that you go over. That's sort of a of a namesake, but there is a tunnel that goes from San Rafael to Larkspur Landing, and that is that the San Rafael end of that is in our neighborhood.
So that's where the SMART train ends, when it goes through the tunnel. All right, and then we have Kevin Haggerty from Glenwood. You want to mention where that is, Kevin?
Kevin Haggerty, treasurer. I'm from Glenwood. Glenwood's out on the eastern peninsula of San Rafael, out near Peacock Gap and Loch Lomond. And Scott, welcome. If you remember, I also serve in another role as the vice chair of the TAM Citizens Oversight Committee.
I do. Great to see you, Kevin.
So we're out where Kevin and also where Joy live. It's adjacent to it's not far from McNear's Beach and also from the quarry that you may know about. Go ahead, Joy.
Hi, I live in Loch Lomond. I am west of Glenwood and I'm east of San Rafael High. I'm kind of in the middle. And I've lived in Loch Lomond for 5 years. I lived in Gerstle Park for 19 and I lived in Glenwood for 30 plus. So I've been in San Rafael for a long time.
She brings a lot of history. Thanks, Joy. Daniel?
Hey, I'm in the West End. The Miracle Mile divides us, and our border is with San Anselmo. We're literally the west end of San Rafael.
So as you can see, Scott and Nicole, we actually have another steering committee member who's going to arrive late, who's in Terra Linda. So North San Rafael, near where the Northgate Mall is located. And then Daniel's at the far west end of the city where it abuts San Anselmo. And then both Kevin and Joy live near the bay. And Richard lives in a little bit, just I want to say east of the downtown, by a tad. And my husband and I live south of the downtown. And let's see, Jim, go ahead, Jim.
Hi, Nicole and Scott. Thanks for coming tonight. I live in Bret Harte, which is right next to Richard's neighborhood, the southwest part of San Rafael, near the 580-101, which is appropriate because along with Richard and Kevin, I was on the stakeholders work group on the 580-101 project. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. We have Sunny Lee, who is in Southern Heights. Now, they're kind of across D Street from us and up a bit. And then Lori, as I mentioned, is Gerstle Park. Dick, you want to mention where you are in relationship to everything? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Dick. I don't know that he hears me. There you go. Dick?
Yes, I live in Contempo Marin. It's off of Smith Ranch Road, which is the northern city limits of San Rafael.
That's great. Is there anybody else who's here whose neighborhood I didn't mention? All right, so today, as you know, we have invited Scott McDonald and we have Nicole, has a beautiful last name is French and I've forgotten it already. But from Marin Commutes, which is a part of Transportation Authority of Marin. And but first, I wanted just to those of you who may not know, and that would really be Scott and Nicole, about the Federation. On our website, you'll see, here, I'm going to go to the website. You'll see our neighborhoods. And this is a map of the city. So I mentioned that Kate Powers is going to attend, and she lives up here. And then we have Kevin and Joy down there, and we have Daniel here, and we have Richard down here. So we're kind of covering the map, which is just great. I'm going to go back to this and just mention that afterwards we're going to be having a steering committee meeting. So please feel free to stay if you're interested in that. And the agenda is pretty simple. But I'm going to stop sharing at this point in time. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Nicole and Scott, who are just going to introduce this program to us and introduce what they do, how it fits into transportation in this county, and how we can help.
Well, great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. I think Nicole's gonna share her screen. And before I get started, yeah, just again, really thrilled to be here. Interesting opportunity. I do want to say and recognize one of our CAM commissioners, Supervisor Mary Sackett, who connected us with this opportunity. So greatly appreciate that and chance to talk to you. So I think before we get into the Marin Commutes program, which is a relatively new program launched by the Transportation Authority of Marin within the past five years, I'm just going to give a little background on what our agency's role is. I know many of you are pretty familiar with the Transportation Authority of Marin, but I'll just give you a little background and to show kind of how we set up the Marin Commutes program and where it fits into the work we do. So next slide. Yeah, so yeah, the Transportation Authority of Marin was established around 2004. We have on our board 16 members, including all 5 members of the board of supervisors, as well as 1 representative from each city and town. We have the Citizens Oversight Committee, which Kevin served on. Thanks, Kevin, for your dedication to that group. We have currently around 14 staff members. And, an overarching purpose is we're involved in coordinating and funding transportation projects and programs throughout Marin County. Next slide. Yeah, so, we have some other sources of funding as well, but much of our funding comes from a couple dedicated sources. Many of you are probably aware of this, but we have a 0.5-cent sales tax called Measure AA. In 2018, it was renewed from previously Measure A, but that's a 0.5-cent sales tax in Marin County that really funds the lion's share of our budget for a variety of purposes. You'll see kind of the breakdown here. But 7% of that funding goes to reducing congestion on Highway 181 and adjacent roadways, and a small share of that goes to reducing trips by way of the Marin Commutes program and similar work we call transportation demand management, really encouraging people to consider other modes of transportation other than driving alone. And then we also have the $10 vehicle registration fee. So when vehicles are registered in Marin, $10 of the registration costs go to a smaller pot of funding, and 25% of that's related going toward a suite of programs associated with reducing congestion and pollution, of which a subset is for the type of program that Marin Commutes is, and we'll get into further in this presentation. Next slide. So yeah, so this is in a nutshell, yeah, Marin Commutes as a program, TAM launched initially in 2019. Much of the outreach within the program got delayed due to the pandemic. So we've kind of relaunched some of that outreach in the last year or so when we brought on Convey, which is a consulting firm that Nicole's with, and she's a project manager for the program. So really, the program is really to increase awareness about transportation options, such as carpooling and the transit services available. There's a website, marincommutes.org, where people can find out about the different transportation options in Marin County, And then we also run some incentives, rewards through the program, like an emergency ride-home program if people leave their car at home and get stuck at work, or you have to work late unexpectedly, kind of an insurance program to get people home if they need. And then we also have van pool incentive and some other rewards that Nicole will get into more detail about soon. So anyways, glad to be here. And I'm going to turn over to Nicole to take you through the next slides.
Great. Thanks so much, Scott. So as Scott mentioned, I'm the project manager from our side. And so we help to oversee all of these aspects of the program. So this involves a variety of outreach tactics that we use. And so we host meetings like tonight's meeting. We give presentations, and we also attend different local events to get the word out. And then we do rely on a lot of digital communications as well to educate folks about the resources available to them. So we keep an up-to-date website that has a variety of resources for commuters, as well as try to gather all of the local and regional discounts and incentive programs that are available to us. So everything from the transit operator discounts to rebates that you could be getting from the federal government for EVs. So we do try to kind of pull all those resources into a single spot for Marin residents and workers. And so just to kind of give you a quick snapshot of the website, we do have some of those resources for each of the different modes of transportation. And then we do have a suite of resources too for employers. As one of our largest audiences are employers and employees, although all of these benefits are really helpful for any residents of the county. So one of the biggest programs that falls under Marin Commutes is the Marin Commutes Rewards Program. And so this is a program that first launched in July 2020, but this was updated and expanded to a year-round program in October of 2022. And so what this does is really incentivize or reward those who live or work in Marin for sustainable transportation. So the program itself offers a variety of great features. So we have leaderboards and ways to make this kind of competitive and fun with friends or coworkers or even your neighbors. We have personal stats within the program, so we can keep track of our goals, how many miles we've accumulated of non-vehicle trips, and as well as even things like our activity level. There are features related to ride matching and trip planning that can be used within the app, so that people who don't necessarily have the resources to find someone going to a like place can link up with someone who might be a good carpool match. And then finally, of course, kind of the big feature of this app is the reward feature, and people can earn gift cards that can be redeemed at hundreds of retailers, and people can earn up to $500 a year. So there's a really great incentive for both choosing sustainable trips and then logging them. So how the app or how it works is that folks can log trips in either their web browser, the commute tracker app, or even third-party apps like Strava and Waze. And so for the purpose of the program, commute is really broadly defined. It does refer to any trips that you need to take from one destination to another, and those that are typically your regular trips. So for those who aren't commuting to work or school, this could be things like regular appointments or errands, school drop-off, or even volunteer commitments are all eligible within the app. And folks can earn points for each of their trips. Basically, this works by accumulating points for your trips. And so modes like transit and carpool and van pool will earn 10 points per trip. But then we also do incorporate work from home or any of those virtual appointments, which would be 5 points per trip. And so in order to redeem those points or to get gift cards for the time spent. We do have kind of two mechanisms. The first is a rewards ladder. And so this is a really predictable way that anyone who participates in the program can earn rewards for their trips. So after logging 20 days of eligible trips, individuals earn a $20 gift card. After 100 days, a $30 gift card, and then 200 days, a $50 gift card. So this is something that anyone who is participating in the program can earn. And this is on an annual basis, so that's $100. But then we also have drawings or raffles that can be bought into with your points, either on the monthly level or annually. And so these are for some of those bigger, exciting prizes, upwards of $250, where folks can earn additional funds throughout the year. So another program that falls within the umbrella of Marin Commutes is the Emergency Ride Home program. And what this is really developed because one of the biggest barriers to using sustainable modes of transportation is flexibility and some of the what ifs that arise when commuting via alternative modes, especially taking transit or your bike. What do I do if there's an emergency, if I need to get home quickly? So the Emergency Ride Home program is really kind of a safety net for those who work within Marin or attend school within Marin. And this is something that all of the counties offer. So if any of our residents are working outside of the county, which many do, they can access these similar types of benefits from our partners throughout the region. So qualifying emergencies are quite broad. It's things like illness or crisis, of oneself or our family members, things that are related to our transportation modes becoming unexpectedly unavailable, bicycle problems, inclement weather, those are a carpool ride needing to leave early, or having to work late unexpectedly. And what we do for folks through this program is we offer up to $125 back to reimburse them for their taxi or their Uber or Lyft ride. And this can be redeemed up to 4 times a year. So this is a really great backup plan for folks who might be a little bit weary of taking alternative modes otherwise. And then finally, one of the last programs I want to just provide some background information is our van pool incentive program. So this builds on MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission's larger regional program, which incentivizes the forming of van pools. And a van pool is really a group of 7 to 15 people who are commuting together with an unpaid driver, kind of an informal large carpool, so to speak. And so they offer $500 monthly as a subsidy for folks to form a van pool and to participate, to defray the costs associated with it. And so TAM offers on top of that an additional $150 a month for up to 2 years. So just to really help make this a more affordable option for those who are commuting to similar locations. And this benefit's available to those who are working either within Marin or within a neighboring county and live within Marin. So that's something else that's available to folks. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Scott briefly because he is also leading a program underneath the umbrella of underneath TAM that we're very excited to help support in the coming months.
Yeah, great. So the bike share program is something that we've been working on to launch in partnership with the Sonoma County Transportation Authority. They're kind of the lead agency on this in terms of managing the funding, but we are kind of both at the table and trying to coordinate the program and get it set up. Maybe you've seen bike sharing in other cities, like it started more in larger cities and it's expanding a bit to the suburbs. And our program is really just that's a pilot program to kind of test and demonstrate how well it supports people in connecting to transit in Marin and Sonoma counties. So the program is based on a grant from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and the purpose is really to connect people to the smart corridor. Really for a variety of purposes, but definitely for connecting to transit. We anticipate roughly 300 electric bikes, half of which will be in Marin County, around the smart corridor, and specifically in the cities of Larkspur, San Rafael, and Novato. Yeah, it's really what we call a last mile or first mile and last mile program to get people to and from transit if they can't walk to their final destination where they work, for example. And even if people do work close to transit during the day and they don't need to get to their place of work by way of the bike share program, it might be serving them during the day. So yeah, 7 cities. We just brought on a new contractor called Drop Mobility to help us plan and launch that system in partnership with all the cities involved and transit agencies. So yeah, we're excited about that. And Nicole, I don't know if we have like maybe 1 or 2. Yeah.
We have one more slide, and
Yeah.
I can also paste these in the chat so that we can see each other's faces better. I always like to remove the slide deck at this time, but really we wanted to open a discussion around just generally learn, what questions that you have and answer those questions about the program, and talk a little bit about some of your ideas for how this can be a more effective program within San Rafael. So what are some ways that we could better promote the program, and how do we use, how can we increase our impact within the community? So with that, I'll take the slideshow down and I will paste these into the chat so that we can continue the discussion.
What kind of participation have you guys received so far since this has started?
I don't know if Nicole, maybe I'll turn to you in a moment, but so yeah, so we during the pandemic, right? So we launched it about end of 2019, and then during the pandemic, it's slow to pick up. But over the last year, we've seen an increase. There are different programs within Marin Commutes, and the one that we track in terms of participation, I think the most is the Marin Commutes Rewards program, where people are actually kind of actively ongoing, engaging in terms of like logging trips. And so that's one of the metrics we track ongoing. Some of those programs like Emergency Ride Home or the Vanpool program we also track, but we did a report and update to my board at the end of 2023. And Nicole, I don't know if like you have some kind of general like stats you want to refer to. I mean,
Sure thing. Yeah, I have to bring them up in front of my eyes.
yeah.
So we did just wrap up a report on the past year and a half. So we do track everything from the number of visitors to our website and looking at resources. So we've seen about 4,000 new visitors over that year and a half to the website, which is great. Many more have come in since that wonderful article that just came out in the journal. So that was really helpful. We saw about 600 or so new users in the rewards app. And so new users, those are folks who are signing up for the app. We have probably more like 300 or so who are active at any given time. But we did just see an increase of 100 signups in the past week, though, as we're gearing up as we had both the board presentation, some advertising, and are gearing up for our New Year Commute Challenge, which is kind of an extra opportunity to win some rewards. And then, as Scott had mentioned, we do track across our different programs too. I believe we have 10 active van pools at the moment, and we saw 4 requests for reimbursement for emergency ride home. So we are especially interested in making sure that folks know that that's available, but don't necessarily equate that number with success, since it is just a safety net.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, like the drawdown and utilization of some of our incentives are, you know, we can track that, but we also, like, our goal really is to, you know, encourage more people to use modes of transportation other than driving alone. So whether it be transit or biking or walking, and not everybody is like tracking their behavior, you know, or having us track their behavior by logging those trips. So really, like, that is really like the piece that, like, that's what we're really striving towards, is trying to just increase, like, awareness is the metric, the kind of the proxy for it, but really getting the word out about these different transportation options, encouraging people even one day a week, you know, to bike to the grocery store, or bike to work, you know, or ride the bus occasionally, take smart, you know, just I think that's kind of our audience, is trying to shift people that are kind of interested, but maybe not using those options very regularly, and then trying to encourage that, at least for their consideration.
Thank you. I was just going to comment that, I mean, you really, in the United States of America, you have to go to extraordinary lengths in order to change people's behaviors when it comes to the automobile. It simply isn't in our DNA. And so I get why you guys exist. I understand, you know, the rewards program and how this is part of shifting the way that you look at getting around. I wanted to make a couple of suggestions, if I may. The first is, so I'm a retired teacher, but still a substitute teacher over at San Rafael High School. And when I can, which is at least every other time I ride my bike there, it's not far, even though the traffic is pretty scary. I don't know that people at the high school know about this program. You might have reached out to them. I'm guessing you have, but if you haven't, that's a typical example of where you could make a real impact. They have the once a year, I think, what is it? There's once a year ride your bike to school day or something like that. And some people always ride their bikes. There are some devoted bike riding teachers, a small handful, there might be 5 or 6, but there are many people who drive to San Rafael High from Novato and who are always caught in traffic, and for whom I sub because they're caught in traffic. So seems to me that there might be some market. I mean, you of course think of Marin or the large employers in San Rafael, but I would say public employees. So the city of San Rafael, their employees, and the school system and their employees would be a really great place to start. And then and you know, like how to communicate that. I would say ask if you could be invited to a faculty meeting, because, you know, more emails do not necessarily equal results. People really enjoy that face-to-face. Oh, so that's what they're talking about, you know. That's my suggestion with the schools and with the city. And my next suggestion is, it's been a while since I lived in San Francisco, but my husband and I were there for half a year. And I just remember there was an app, I think it's 511. Does that sound familiar? Where you can, you know, like, I'm at this corner and I want to go to that corner. So, you know, you choose, well, Google has this too, you know, bike, public transportation, this, that. So if it would seem to me that if it could be just a one-step thing. So inside of an app like that, or I don't know, Google Maps is probably impossible to get to because they're this conglomerate, but inside of a local transportation app, if there could be a button that that's pressed for Marin Commutes, earn cash back or something like that, or something, so that whoever is trying to find out how to get between place and place, they have that as an option. So anyway, I'd like to turn the floor over to anyone else who might have suggestions. I mean, go ahead, Kevin, and unmute yourself, please. We have joining us now Kate Powers, who works in many ways has worked in transportation. She was a member of BPED with Kevin, and also, hi, Kate. She's coming from another meeting and also is with the Marin Conservation League, or is with the Marin Conservation League. So we're at this point, Kate, we're taking questions. Go ahead, Kevin.
Have you been able to promote this program in the Canal neighborhood? Because I think there's probably a lot of people there that don't drive single occupancy vehicles, and that would be a real win situation for many of the residents there.
Yeah, we,
absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
oh, well, you go.
Oh, and I just mentioned that we partnered with the Canal Alliance in the past, and also some of the community service providers as well within that area to better understand, both who they're serving and to, help gain access to those communities as well. So that's a great suggestion.
And then, yeah,
Uh,
one other strategy, we've worked with Marin Transit in the past to promote the emergency ride home program within the buses, like, or we've done bus back ads. So if people are, or traveling to work, they can see the information about the program, and then they can research more about the different elements. So that's another strategy. But yeah, I agree that's a key audience and opportunity for us. So we're continuing to look at how to support those residents.
Wait, did I hear you say bus ads? No, what did you say?
Yeah, we've done advertisements on when we first launched the program. We had bus back ads, the backs of buses. You'd see marincommutes.org, check it out, for commute information. But then we've also done for the emergency ride home program
Okay.
inside the buses. I don't know, like if the smaller advertising spaces, we've worked with the transit agencies to advertise that program as a way to kind of really retain and reward transit use, as well as promote it just broadly.
For any bus ads, of course, you want to have them in Espanol, because I think that is the largest ridership, at least out of San Rafael Transit Center. Also, again, speaking as a teacher, a lot of kids ride the bus. And the way that you could capture those kids for your rewards program would again be through the high school. I mean, you see them, anyone who drives around San Rafael, see the kids waiting for the bus. There are at least as many kids who ride their bikes. And there are many more, unfortunately, who are being picked up by their parents. And so there is and we're talking about what everyone in this town experiences, which is gridlock around the 101 on either side, So I'm certain that a lot of that gridlock comes from the school, just because that's where it's located. How about anybody else have some questions? Go ahead, Richard.
I've got a question. What sort of verification process do you have when somebody logs a trip? Is there any confirmation that this trip actually happened? Is there any spot checking? How do you handle that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. This is largely an honor system. Although we do verify trips through Strava and some of those third-party apps. And we do generally have constraints on the system in place that deter fraudulent use of it. So you can only log so many trips. You're only rewarded for a number of trips, so that we're not getting people who are kind of abusing the program. But it is largely an honor system overall, and we do think that people are using it in a truthful way.
So in terms of the response that you've had to this point, you characterized people signing up, but in terms of people who are regularly logging and receiving reimbursements, are we in the hundreds, in the low hundreds, in the high hundreds? Have you hit 1,000? Where are you now in terms of your operation, and what are your goals for the coming year?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So in terms of our registration, we are hoping to register another 750 users in the coming year. So it is still small and growing, but we do want to maintain around that. We kind of want to maintain around 500 active users, in a month. And so that's people who are engaging at least on a monthly basis with the rewards app.
Gotcha. So it's not just signing up, it's signing up and then beginning to log.
Sure. So like any app, lots of people sign up for different programs or have some initial interest. We do want to encourage that continued use, or beyond just the sign up. And so we do hope that some of the initial easy to access rewards help to incentivize that early use and that it can become more of a habit over time. And having that kind of duration, lots of different rewards throughout the year really helps us to keep people engaged.
I just thought I'd throw in the suggestion, actually have TAM employees with clipboards at the most used bus stops. And, and just like when you're registering people to vote, how do you do it? You find people where they are, you get them involved. And if you were to go into the high schools, Terra Linda and the local San Rafael High, and there's Madrone High there too. Same thing. You have a meeting with the student body. You have, 5 people with the clipboards. Let me show you how to do it on your app. This is what you do, and all of a sudden you'll get a real shot in the arm.
Oh, yeah, it would be fabulous to work more closely with students. Unfortunately, the program is targeted at those 18 and older, just for legalities. But we do have TAM does have a fabulous program, Safe Routes to School, that's doing a lot of engagement with the student body to help encourage alternative modes of transportation. We do see that as a really good nexus of our program, and are looking, at additional ways to coordinate with them and the educators, of course. We do have close relationship with San Rafael employees. They actually have a sub network within our app, and they're able to offer some additional benefits to their network, which is really cool. So it's great to have public employees there, but yeah, we think educators would be a really great opportunity as well.
Great, and then you would target the parents of the students, because we're
exactly
regular every single day, twice a day. That's why 3rd Street is so difficult to drive on for people like Kevin and Joy, who are coming from that direction. It's just unbelievable. Any other questions?
That's that nexus.
Yeah, one other thing, I'm just, you said that you had backup bus ads, check out Marin Commutes, etc. I'm just wondering if the tone of your advertising, if there were a sign that said, let us help pay for your commute, and we with the website, to draw people in with a more direct description of what the benefit is, not require them to dig too deep, but to really offer that people are spending a lot of money commuting any way they can, any way they do. And then the other thing is, there is a group-oriented benefit for everybody who participates, getting out of their cars and getting into public transit or alternative transit. And I think quantifying that, the effect that participating has not only on your pocketbook in terms of helping pay for your commute, but on the environment and on the impact of global warming, etc., is another hook. I'm sure you've thought of it, but I think that showing the benefits, not only the personal finance benefits, but the ecological benefits that can be gained from this. I think it's a great program, and I think that the more people that participate, the more personal and more global benefits become obvious.
All right.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree.
there's certainly. Oh, go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's kind of like how we started this program, is kind of talking about the community benefits of this, collective benefits, and then the cost savings is an interesting point too that you bring up, and that's on an individual level, like within the app that we were talking about. You can actually see the impact of your own transportation change, both in terms of cost savings at an estimated level of cost savings, calories burned if you walk or bike, because not everybody's in it to save money, and the savings aren't, but there's the health benefits, the cost savings, and environmental benefits, the GHG reduction, all that. So we're trying to tackle it from different angles, but I completely appreciate the suggestions on the marketing too.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. We have a hand that's raised. I want to just interject something before I call on you, Lori. You have these van, the idea of the van, whatever the name of it was. I think you would, there's a group in the Canal neighborhood that's called Voces del Canal that we've connected with, and these are the mothers in the canal. And if you were to communicate with them and offer their kids a ride to school in a van, that van would be going all day long. And you get a lot of cars off the street. And probably even from Jim's neighborhood, from Bret Hart. You know, there are a lot of people who are coming in from Bret Hart with their, you know, just dropping kids off. So those are two neighborhoods that are pretty densely populated. I'm going to go to Lori Schifrin. Go ahead, Lori. Unmute yourself.
Hi there. Is your target the people that work in San Rafael or that are trying to get out of San Rafael by public transportation? Because last time I heard this, somebody had asked if he wanted, and it was actually somebody in the canal. If he takes the train and then needs to get home, what does he do with the bike, for example? And there was nothing for him to do with the bike, so it didn't work for him. And he is pretty much a huge population of what people are looking for if they're trying to get to public transportation or from public transportation.
Yeah, no, we definitely are targeting both the workforce and residents in Marin County. I think this program has its origins in being more of a destination or workforce focused program where we were tackling it through like working with larger employers and trying to figure out what would support them and, you know, encouraging some of their employees to use alternative modes of transportation. But Marin Commutes is, we've kind of shifted through this new public facing program, Marin Commutes, to really focus on the broader range of trips, whether it be commute to work, utilitarian trips to residents might make, like running errands. Like we're trying to incentivize all these types of green trips. So yeah, all of the above.
But how does that work? For example, if I want to take the train and I don't live close enough to the station and there's no place to, and usually there's no place to park, which I think most of us think is just ridiculous. Where do we go? How do we get there? And what do we do with the bicycle? If we're doing bicycle or whatever transportation.
Well, yeah, good point. So if it's your personal bicycle, but I know that there's these bike lockers at these, you know, bike storage lockers at smart stations now, but the bike link lockers. But there's also the bike share program we were talking about earlier is one way we're attempting to try to solve that first and last mile dilemma where people can use bike share if you know that's an option that works for them to get to or from transit. But
where do they leave the bike for the day when they're working?
Yeah, they would leave it with bike share. That what they would do is they would leave it at a hub, and then they're not responsible for it when they're at work, and then they would pick up a bike at the end of their work day, or throughout the day. But once they're basically like terminate their trip through that program, where that trip they would not be responsible for the bike beyond that. So that's a shared program where people will be sharing bikes getting to and from transit. So that's you're trying to attempt to, you know, overcome that challenge that you're talking about.
So there is really, yeah.
If I may, in San Rafael, virtually everybody takes a smart train in the morning during commute hours, in the evening, rides their bike to the station, puts their bike on the train, and then rides to work. It's very cool. So you hang your bike inside of the smart train, and then you just ride off to your employer. Yes,
but those people already have a bicycle.
Oh, you're asking for people who don't have a bicycle. Okay.
Yeah, it's
right.
a bike share program. And where do, you know, if they take the smart train and there's a hub at the smart train and they ride 4 miles to work, but there's not a hub where they work. There's just, you know, they ride 4 miles to their office, and then the bike sits there. And then will that bike be there for them to ride 4 miles back to the smart train at the end of the day? Probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
If
We
it's
hear
that
that
far, yeah, there'd be hubs, but they're not necessarily everywhere where people work. So the more concentrated areas that probably, yeah, we're not looking at quite that far, but the program we're launching will be an electric bike program. So the service area hasn't been defined, but there will be places where people can drop them off, and you know they might drop them off closer to their workplace than they would be able to, you know, walk from the smart train. So yeah, so we're starting off with a certain fleet. We're 300 bikes, but that's 2 counties, so we can potentially expand. But yeah, but to your point, like there are certain use cases where it might not be the best option.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, and Lori, just we hear your concerns around resources for personal bikes, and I think as a new program, we're always looking for ideas for you know, additional incentive programs for the future. So it's definitely something for us to keep in mind as we think about what's next.
Cool. Any other questions?
I had a question.
Okay, Kate.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the presentation. I had another meeting, but I was wondering, Scott, about, I've been hearing a lot about this seamless transportation that's going to be part of a transportation bill in the next few years. And I'm wondering if the bike, you may have already said this, but I'm wondering if with the Marin Commutes app, if there's, if you use one source of like a Clipper card or something for the electric bikes to go the last mile that you use for the smart train that you might use for Golden Gate Bus, is that there yet? And is this program, Marin Commutes, kind of anticipating that goal of a seamless transportation network?
Yes. So, hi, Kate. Thanks for the question. So, that's the grant that we received from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission for the bike share program. That's one of the goals, to try to integrate, if possible, with Clipper. I know the Clipper versions have been updated, so they've actually, there may be some challenges, but yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the, ways to make transit more attractive if it's easier, that all the systems are interfaced. So that's part of it. We promote through Marin Commutes. It's really more of a outreach and promotion program. We connect people through our marincommutes.org site to transit services. And I think having them all just kind of integrated and within the Marin Commutes framework is in terms of connecting people where they can see the different options. But yeah, no, I think that seamless effort is kind of a separate but related initiative.
Okay.
We have another hand that's up, Sunny Lee. Before I go to you, it occurred to me how important it is to, in effect, redefine commuting as you did at the beginning, that you don't have to be going to a job. If you have a regular drop off, if you have a regular place that you're going, that's considered a commute. Go ahead, Sunny.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm not a commuter per se, but I have carpooled with my coworkers back in late 2010 and 11 when I was going to city. Ultimately, I must say, as a trying to be pollution reducing and not adding another vehicle on the road. And what I personally felt was that when we are struggling employee, like getting family, have a dinner together and all sorts of other things that, let's say we are making like, $30, $40 an hour, ultimately the time is a money. So, everybody attempted in the best effort. Even the emergency ride is a time to get that work. So not having that worry as a new parents, have 2 kids, picking up the kids from childcare on time. Otherwise, there's a fine of $75 every 30 minutes or something like that. It's not having that, option got to the point, one point we realized, okay, it's a concept, there's incentives there for at the employer, but there's like a line between that. It's not achievable for struggling families to couple or riding a public transportation. And then I rode the bus several times to city, and the couple times there's like screaming guy in the like 2 rows in front of me. And I've lived in New York City in public transit for 6 years and walked a lot. So I know it's a common thing, but now I noticed it, the smart train is trying really hard to attract more riders. So this last mile thing with the electric bike. They're offering 300 units, you mentioned, Scott mentioned. But also, I have seen so many stolen electric bikes by these kind of fleet companies, all piled up at El Cerrito and Oakland, where my friends lives, and as well as Albany. I mean, just across Richmond, near the freeway. So I just want to make sure that this is just something the company trying to get their grant money from the public tax collected money to have their business started it, but ultimately it's going to be failed because of half of electric bike is stolen at the Mahon Creek path. I don't want them to be, you know, if you look at other cities, what they've gone through, I want you to have a full study how successfully this was applied. I think if there's a people who need a last mile bike, just using the fleet is available at the hub, I would think most of people will just already have a bike and riding it. And I'm really concerned about offering electric bikes at the smart train station and a certain hub that anybody could tap in. I actually concerned about this is going to be attracting the more stolen bikes because I am tracking all those stolen bikes in my community as well as anywhere that a bike is just loosely in the, maybe let's say like a biomarine lobby or like near the community, the public place, the patio area, cafeteria area. I don't know. It might be somebody might just take it away. So that's my concern.
Sunny, that's a real, it's a real concern, and I think it's good you brought it up because, these are public resources and taxpayers don't, take that lightly, especially if they see that there are already bike, crime gangs operating in San Rafael. I'm sure you know that, and you see evidence of it everywhere. So if this is undertaken, that it be undertaken, in such a way that it really is accounted people who take them out, that it's scanned and whatever device, so that it works and it works well. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Sunny.
I can respond to that if you don't mind, Amy. And
Go ahead.
Sunny said a couple important things I just want to respond to. I guess the first thing having to do with the theft and vandalism is something that some of the systems have dealt with. That is definitely an issue with bike share. One of the I'm hoping that like there's not the demand for that as much in our service area. But the one of the neat things about the bikes and we actually did a presentation at the TAM board in December with the bike, and there's actually unless you basically need an app or a device to unlock it. So you can't really, there wouldn't be as much of an incentive. It's locked up in a way that, it wouldn't be useful, and people are being tracked. And it is a hub-based model. So like people they are financially disincentivized to like leave the bikes anywhere. So it's not a dockless system like where you just leave the bikes anywhere. So they're required to be, it's being planned for the bikes to be required to be left at the hub. So hopefully, we're certainly crossing our fingers we don't face that much of an issue in terms of like theft and vandalism. But you brought up an interesting point about how a lot of people earlier before the bike share discussion about how it's really hard, especially for parents that are moving around and having to drop kids off. And that is true. There are folks that we've talked to and engaged with over the years that, given their line of work or their situations, they're not likely to do something other than drive alone. And for that reason, and I was kind of important to me when we started this, that we do promote use of clean vehicles for people who do drive alone. And of course, if they can carpool, that's even better. But we do promote electric vehicles through this program for folks that realistically will drive alone. And if they can carpool, even better. But yeah, I think we certainly understand not everyone is going to make a switch in terms of driving alone and to using another mode. So But yeah, no, that's all good feedback. So I appreciate it.
One
Great.
last thing that I want to mention is because my children is at Santa Fe High School, and 65% of the students are actually reside in Canal area. So at basically 3:10 on or 3:40, 3:50 on Tuesday and Thursday, 3:50, you could actually see about, to me, like about 300 to 600 students walking from Santa Fe High School to the Santa Fe Transit. I know Director April Miller is really hoping to have the swing bridge open over the canal, which is just to cross the street, third street from Santa Fe High School. Then all of these students could just walk over the bridge, the swing bridge that's gonna be hopefully be installed. I don't know. They're still waiting for big grant and funding from TAM to get that approved. But in my personal the dream project for the Santa Fe to have any municipal project that ultimately will reduce the traffic congestion on Third Street, because of the 600 kids will just walk over and will not block the streets, crosswalk. There's a hybrid crosswalk right in front of Santa Fe High School. That is, to me, one way to make it student safe, but the students' pedestrian safety, I think the swing bridge over the canal connecting 600 students every day would be just incredible impact for the congestion wise.
Thank you. Thank you. That does make it's actually a positive note to end our evening on. At this point in time, I want to thank everyone who has participated. We like to have our public meetings not go more than an hour, and when we have multiple guests, we go to an hour and a half. But do you have any comments, Scott or Nicole, before we say good evening to you?
No, again, appreciate the opportunity. And reach out if you have any other questions, I guess, on behalf of your group, Amy, and yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Awesome.
Thank you for a fruitful discussion and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Take care and thanks for coming.